are ya? Welcome back to my channel for a good old-fashioned get ready with me Q&A. It has been a few months since I've done a sit-down Q&A and just like caught up with y'all, chatted about everything you want to chat about, basically also some of the things that I see in my DMs, etc. And a lot has changed since the last time we've done this. Last time we did this, I was not engaged, I was not planning a move in the future, and I was not a homeowner. So we got a lot to catch up on. I pulled a ton of questions from my Instagram. You guys know that that is the spot where I normally go to like crowdsource questions and ideas because it's so easy to interact over there. So feel free to go follow me over there. Let's get into it. These are in no particular order. There's a lot of kind of more marriage related questions and house and move and all of that sort of stuff. So let's see how many we get through. I saw this one a lot. Are you and Jordy in alignment on kids? Yeah, I have always said I don't really want to start trying for kids until my early 30s. I am 26. And I also have always said to Jordy, and he agrees with this, that I want to be married a couple years and enjoy that and figure out that before we throw kids into the mix. So we both feel like, you know, maybe being married for a couple years and then starting that conversation of trying, and who knows how long it will take. I would bet I have kids and like I have my first kid and maybe 4 years, maybe 4, maybe 5. I reserve the right to change my mind, but if I have a kid before then, chances are it was a surprise. How do you feel about all the changes happening so fast? I feel good. At times I take a step back and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much to think about all at once. But they're all really exciting changes, which makes it exciting. The last time I moved way quicker and under way more stressful circumstances, and I did okay. So this time it feels, shoot, I thought that this was the bronzy, that's the goldy. I self-tanned last night, so I'm trying to get my face the same color. So next question is, do you feel more excited about the wedding? I know that I had mentioned when I first got engaged that like I'm so excited for the marriage, etc., but like I don't feel like I deserve to do any of the wedding stuff twice. I think as time has gone on, I've kind of gotten over that a little bit more. I still feel like I don't deserve any sort of shower or whatever, especially because we're not doing a registry. But the wedding itself, the more we talk about it and like figure out exactly what we want to do and exactly what is meaningful to us and exactly which rules we want to break, etc., I get really excited about the idea of it all. As we figure out more of the wedding, I get more and more excited about like, this is going to be really special and really meaningful and really just like intimate and nice. And so I'm excited that it's not going to be anything like my last experience of a wedding, and that makes me excited. I also wanted to mention there was a lot of more specific wedding questions, and today I'm filming a video about more of the specifics of like the wedding planning, of things that I'm doing differently, and I might also break that into a second video of all of the budget things that I'm choosing to do for this wedding. So I was gonna make that one long video, but then I was like, you know what, maybe that should be divided because there's one that I'm doing for like choice because it just feels more meaningful to me, and there's some things that I'm doing for budget because why not save some money? So I might divide that into 2 separate video categories. When do you plan to move? So this is the thing. I've been going back and forth about exactly what I want my plan to be. Initially, I was thinking about driving up for all of October, prepping the house, etc., so that I could have Max and so that I could have my car, and then driving back and spending Thanksgiving and my mom's 60th birthday with her, and then Jordy has an Austin show in November, and then moving. But then I realized that movers can take like up to 18 days to get your stuff there. So that would start to conflict with Paris. And I didn't want to do it earlier because I don't want to miss Thanksgiving and my mom's birthday. So what I'm thinking about doing now is not doing that drive 3 times and staying actually for the first half of October so that I can also be around longer for Anna and Kaylee's babies, and then moving mid-October and then flying back to Texas for Thanksgiving, my mom's 60th, and Jordy's show. And that way the house will feel very settled by the time we leave for Paris too, because we'll be having friends stay in the house with Max. So I feel better about that plan. So now I'm thinking about officially moving mid-October. It gives me the same amount of time that I was planning on having in Texas versus California, but it's just split up differently. And also I'm doing the drive 1 time instead of 3 times, which feels good. So that's the new kind of updated plan. Yet again, I reserve the right to change everything. What will you miss most about Austin? Being close to Jacqueline Anna Kaylee's is like the biggest thing that I will miss. I also really do love Austin's food scene. Austin has such a good food scene, and like there's so many new spots that have even just popped up within the last month, and I want to try them all. This one, I'm about to go off a little because I've gotten different variations of this question multiple times. Essentially, I wrote down this one because it was a little funnily worded, and it says, will Jordy get a real job to support you financially? And I just want to explain a little bit about how Jordy's job works. And we might do a more in-depth sit-down video. I've gotten permission from him to talk about this a little bit. And he was like, yeah, honestly, I would love to explain it to them too, so that like I, can explain it the way that I feel about it. Music, it's hard to get to the point to where you're making money, just like it's hard to get to the point in YouTube where you're making money, but it's possible. And once you're there, people can make really great careers out of it. And we are very much on a similar trajectory in our career from like when we started versus where we are now. Y'all would be surprised to know we actually make very similar amounts of money annually. The thing that's different about music versus YouTube is very inexpensive to continue to do and to continue to produce content. Once you own a camera, you can edit yourself. It's pretty cheap to continue. Music is very expensive to continue. A lot of musicians take deals in order to produce their albums, essentially with like a record label or whatever, where this company will pay to produce their record for the artist, but then the company will take a majority percentage of the money that that album makes because they're going to profit off of it over time. Jordy, on the other hand, has chosen to live incredibly minimally and reinvest as much money as possible back into his business while he's not married and while he doesn't have kids. So he pays to fund all of his own projects himself, meaning that he like maintains the majority or full ownership over it, and then he's essentially investing in himself instead of taking money from an outside company who will then take part of the profits. And I think it's so smart for him to be making sacrifices that way, living more minimally, to maintain the ownership over what he produces and creates, because that builds up a really great asset. And a lot of times musicians too do this thing called selling their catalog, which is selling the assets that they have built up over time, because there are literally investment companies that invest into that. And so he is building this asset brick by brick by himself that has such a high value, which I think is so incredible that he's doing that. And our plan one day is to sell part of that to literally pay off the house. So all that to say, Jordy has a very real job. We make a similar gross annual income. He's just very smart and doesn't spend it on himself, whereas I don't spend a ton on my business in relation to him, and I need to cut back on my lifestyle a little bit. So I'm actually a little bit more of the financially irresponsible one in the relationship. This is an interesting question I got actually a lot, and it's very far in the future, but it's something I think about a lot, and it says, will you show your kids on the internet one day? I do want to say that I feel like the internet will have changed a lot by the time I have kids in 5 years or whatever. Maybe it'll get safer. Probably it will get less safe. And so I'm sure I will feel very differently in 5 years from now. I don't think I want to share a lot of my kids on the internet. I don't think I want to completely hide their faces and photos and things like that, because I almost feel like that kind of generates more curiosity around them. But I just don't think I would post a lot of them, and would definitely not make my content about them. That's my answer for now, but it might change. Will you be going on tour with Jordy after the wedding? His plan is to probably cut back touring to only like 4 months a year once we're married, is his goal. Right now he does like 5 to 6-ish, which is a lot. But no, I don't think I will spend a lot of time on tour with him once we're married, mostly because it is very hard to get interesting content for my job. Vlogging is so hard because every day is the exact same. Wake up in a hotel, get breakfast in the lobby, drive for 8 hours, get to a city, unload all of the equipment, pick up a quick dinner, do the VIP before the show, do the show, load out, go to a hotel, sleep, rinse, repeat. And like, that is not very interesting vlog content because there's not really a lot of off time. You're mostly in a van all day or a dark venue. And so it's just, I don't think, very good for my job. But if he's on tour like straight up for 2 solid months and I don't get to see him, I bet I would spend a weekend every couple weeks, wherever he is, you know, like meet up and tag along for a couple shows in a row and then go back home and get back to work. What is your plan for having a spouse that goes on tour? This is one thing that I'm really excited about Oceanside, is it's weird. It's a weird little community of like Oceanside, Carlsbad, and Encinitas, of all of these musicians who did the LA thing and still do music full time, but just got burnt out by LA, didn't want to be too far, but wanted a chill, slow culture and have moved to our area. And I've gotten to know a lot of their wives. Some of their wives are literally therapists and have literally started like organizations to support musicians and musicians' families. So I'm really excited to have that community and that kind of support system out there, and have couples who have been married for 20 years and have been doing this for a long time to kind of almost be like almost have mentorship in that category. I thought this comment or question was nice. It says, you deal with so many health issues well. How do you cope with anxiety? I don't know. I feel like I go through seasons, sometimes even just days, spurts at a time, where it feels like anxiety comes out of nowhere. And I do feel a correlation with how much time I am reading feedback about myself. So just like scrolling through comments or whatever, days that I start to feel anxious, I'll just be like, okay, you know what? You're not gonna check comments or DMs or whatever for the next 48 hours, even though I want to, and it's an important part of my job. And also, I've switched all my afternoon coffees to matcha. That's helped a lot. And I've figured out some like physical things that make me feel less anxious, like my 20-pound medicine ball that I will literally use to crush my chest. If it's something you struggle with, hopefully this makes you feel seen and heard, of like sometimes it just feels totally out of your control. And I've had like a solid month stretch where I'm like, I have not had an anxious day once this month. And then out of nowhere, a week will come. And I'm like, I don't know what has changed, what is different, but all of a sudden I feel so incredibly anxious. So I'm still figuring it out, but I've learned some coping mechanisms. How does Anna and Kay feel about you leaving Texas? Obviously, we're all sad. Like I've mentioned, all of their family is an hour away from where I will be living. So Anna's parents, her husband's parents, Kaylee's parents, her husband's parents are all there. So they will be visiting several times a year, even just for family, which makes me really excited. And then my parents, of course, live less than an hour from them, and my sister and all that. So I will be visiting several times a year. So that makes it a little bit easier. I can't put on eyeliner and talk, so I'm gonna just do this real quick. Okay, I've gotten also a lot of variations of this question. I'm gonna read this one word for word, but you can imagine the other ways it was phrased. Do you regret not dating around after divorce? You went straight into one relationship. What if there's better out there? I know that I met Jordy a lot quicker than I was expecting to. We met 6 months after my divorce. And I know it's a pretty quick turnaround. We'll be getting married 2 years after we started dating. Though I wasn't planning to meet someone and date that quickly, I never worry about if there's better out there. I think that is a very unhealthy mentality to live with. But if you're dating someone and you don't normally have the mentality and you're like, I wonder if there's better out there, I would say dump them, because that's your gut saying something. I've never once questioned if there's better out there than Jordy, because to me and in my mind and what I know of him, he is beyond everything I've ever dreamed of in a partner. In my last relationship, I did have those types of thoughts and those types of feelings and questions. And I wish I had listened to that and gotten out. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, it's kind of normal to have questions. But we all know how that ended. And this time I'm like, oh, I'm so confident in who this man is as a person, and the amount of work and love and care that he will put into this relationship. Will you be taking a honeymoon? Yes. I'm not gonna share where. I've had a lot of just safety concerns over the last month, so I am reeling back a little bit on sharing details of my life, but don't worry, I'm not gonna reel back on sharing emotions of my life. But we are gonna take a honeymoon. We haven't officially figured out the dates yet. We know exactly where we want to go, but we are doing things a lot more budget friendly, our wedding and everything, because the house we weren't expecting to do right now. And for money purposes, we're gonna take like a 5-6 day honeymoon and then come home and continue honeymoon mentality, like phones on airplane mode for another week, and just be in our new house together, enjoying that, and not working and not, overcommitting to social plans and all the things that we normally do, and just have a continued honeymoon, but not paying for 2 weeks of like travel, if that makes sense. Okay, another question is people wanted to know Mama and Papa's Janse's plans for the ADU. Some people saw it and were like, are they gonna really live half a year in that? And these are the plans for now. Yet again, I've been trying not to share too much about them to respect their privacy because I don't know how much they want to share on the internet. I will explain. Generally, their plans are, my dad's not retired yet. It'll probably be a couple years until he is retired. And so for the first couple years, they'll probably just be coming out for like a couple weeks at a time while he like winds down work and all of that sort of thing. But the plan is to add on to the ADU because there's an existing structure and a lot of green space around it. And it's allowed there. Like I know some neighborhoods have HOAs and things that make it really difficult. Here it's very easy. So their plan is for the first couple years, just using it as it is and not coming for a super long stints at a time because he'll have to go back and work. But over time, we're hoping to add on to it and build out like there's not a full kitchen. There's just a kitchenette right now. One thing at a time because we're doing a lot right now. But that's kind of the plan and the hope. So there you go. Hopefully that helps make sense. How do you and Jordy plan to combine finances? We plan to combine them, but we plan to run each of our businesses separately. So like I have a business account, he has a business account. I do all of my books, whatever. I'm on payroll to myself. He does a very similar thing. He is a bookkeeper, whatever. He's on payroll to himself. Then we take our personal paychecks, put them in a personal bank account, and pay our life expenses together out of that. But that way I don't take on the financial burden of his business. He doesn't take on the financial burden of my business. We just know, hey, me, employee, is going to make this much for my business every month, and that'll go into our shared bank account, just like normal people with normal employers and normal jobs, and we'll pay for things jointly out of that. It's kind of how we're going to structure it. Not a question, but I listened to 21, Now I'm Ugly Crying. If you guys don't know, I told Jordy that the album he made for me for my birthday, I was like, it is just so special. It is so special that I don't want me to be the only person to ever hear this. I'm okay with you sharing it wherever you want. And he didn't want to share it so publicly, so he's just been posting one song at a time on his like private broadcast channel on Instagram. Have you seen those? Where it's like you join a group chat and like you can share links and things. So he's been posting a song a day, and my most favorite song is called 21. It's about my experiences being 21. And the premise of the song is basically we can be 21 again. Like we can make up for lost time. And it is my favorite song, and it literally makes me sob. And I've loved hearing people's thoughts on it that have gone through something similar to me, being like, that song feels so healing to me. I've loved getting to hear that. What will 2024 look like for you? I'm hoping after March, 2024 will look calm, getting rooted in our community, having a daily routine. I hope to just be boring in 2024. I'm excited to have a season of stillness in 2024, slower pace of life and things of the sort is what I'm hoping for. And a couple rapid fire questions. Someone said, I know you and Jordy's Enneagrams, but do you have wings? I am a 3-wing 2. He is a 4-wing 3. If you care about Enneagram, you know what that means. And lastly, I thought this one was funny. It says, does Jordy call you Michel or Christiane? Does it feel like a split personality at times? I thought this one was funny because literally nobody calls me Christiane. Not my parents. Nobody. The only people that call me Christiane is like doctors, but then now they, you know how they ask for the name you go by, so not even that really anymore. And like if I get my driver's license renewed. But to everybody, I am Michel, and I have only been Michel my whole life. Before I was even born, my parents decided I would go by Michel. So nobody calls me Christiane. I feel like that's enough questions for today. I feel like I've been talking for a very long time, but yeah, it's always fun for me to get to sit down and like share a little bit more about, I think the thing that feels therapeutic to me is people sometimes have inaccurate assumptions about things like Jordy's job or whatever that might be. And I'm like, you know what? It's time to just explain how this works because I'm getting a lot of inaccurate assumptions about things like that. And so for me, it feels very healing and therapeutic. And also I can't respond to every comment and every DM. So it feels nice to be able to kind of like respond in this format. Because I do a lot better at talking than typing. Thank you for being here with me while I talk through some of these questions, and thank you for submitting questions and for caring and for being excited with me about this next season. That has made my heart feel so good to see how many people are excited alongside with me. So thank you for expressing that to me, because it makes me feel really confident moving forward and continuing to share all the things and all the plans. And like I said, I think I will do 2 sit-down wedding videos coming up about like my plans for the wedding, about what I'm doing differently, and then also about all the budget things that I'm doing. And let me know beyond that if there's any other sit-down themed topic videos you want to see, and I'll put them on my list. Okay, I love you. I hope you have the best rest of your day, and I'll see you in a video very soon.
So let's take all night, all night, all night, all night.